This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
I'd like to call tonight's meeting together. It's a regular town board meeting, Town of Queensbury. It's January 22nd, 2018. It is 7 p.m. And would you all please rise and join Councilman Anthony Medevere in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you and welcome. We do not have any public hearings tonight. We have before us 21 resolutions. So I will briefly tell you about each one. There is an agenda up here on the table. Should you like to come up and grab one, you're welcome to do so. I will explain each of the resolutions, and then I'll give the public an opportunity to speak to any of the resolutions they wish to. So, without any further ado, Resolution 2.1. Rose, please.
Resolution endorsing consolidation agreement and setting public hearing concerning proposed consolidation of West Queensbury Sanitary Sewer District and Cary Road Sanitary Sewer District.
All right, this is set the public hearing. To set the public hearing for March 5th. The public hearing on March 5th on this particular topic, which is proposing to consolidate the West Queensbury Sewer District and the Cary Road Sanitary Sewer District, will be held in this building at 7 p.m. March 5th. Resolution 2.2.
Resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $1,919,949 in serial bonds of the town of Queensbury to pay the cost of acquisition, construction, and installation of Cary Road Sewer District improvements, and authorizing the issuance of up to $1,919,949 in bond anticipation notes of the town of Queensbury for the same purpose.
All right, this is for the bond to cover the costs incurred in the past, present, and future with the Cary Road Sewer District. Resolution 2.3.
Resolution authorizing certain employees to carry over unused vacation time.
All right, Craig Brown is 8 hours carryover, Chris Harrington 16, Pam Hunsinger 8 hours, Kerry Lewis 4, and Chuck Rice 8. And this is to approve or allow them to carry them over. 2.4.
Resolution authorizing application for funds from New York State Office of Children and Family Services.
All right, this is to allow the Park and Rec Department to apply for funds from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. It's $3,375 for youth recreation programs. Resolution 2.5.
Resolution reappointing Wendy Matthews to Town of Queensbury Recreation Commission.
All right, thank you, Wendy, for offering to stay on board in the Queensbury Recreation Commission, and this is a resolution to reappoint her. Resolution 2.6.
Resolution appointing current alternate member Michelle Hayward as regular member of Town of Zoning Board of Appeals.
And thank you, Michelle, for volunteering to become a regular member of the ZBA. Resolution 2.7.
Resolution appointing Catherine Hamlin as alternate member of Town of Queensbury Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen, for offering to be an alternate member. Plenty of experience for the ZBA. Resolution 2.8.
Resolution appointing P. Brent McDevitt as alternate member of Town of Queensbury Zoning Board of Appeals.
And Brett McDevitt brings to him a lot of experience in zoning and being on zoning boards, and we thank him for that. Resolution 2.9.
Resolution reaffirming hiring of part-time assistant to assessor Mark Collier.
All right, this is actually to continue with services because they're needed in the assessor's office. He retired, but what he knows is hard to match. Resolution 210.
Resolution authorizing town supervisor to sign grant agreement between Town of Queensberry and New York State Housing Trust Fund Corporation and setting appropriations and estimated revenues for grant award.
All right, I want to thank Stu Baker. He's the responsible entity here, and for the person that made out. And we got awarded $47,500. And this is to put together an affordable housing strategy. So the next thing that Stu's going to do is do RFPs for an organization that will help us do that. Resolution 211.
Resolution authorizing Rotary 5K race/walk.
Okay, this will be Saturday, April 21st, 2018. It's Glens Falls Rotary, a great organization, as we all know. This is going to be a 5K roadway race or walk. It'll start approximately 10 a.m. It begins and ends at SUNY Adirondack. And because they use town roads, they need our approval, but they have that approval from our highway department, and they have their insurance, and they also have an application, which I intend to fill out. It's a great event. Resolution 212.
Resolution authorizing seeking of bids through New York State Office of General Services Procurement Program for Chevrolet Bolt for wastewater department.
Okay, the last of 4 items that we need to get completed to become a clean energy community is to get this Chevy Bolt and the charging station. Wastewater department has jumped right on top of it, and they want to do it, and we want to do it for them. So we're going to go out for bids for the Chevy Bolt, and it's a state contract, General Services Procurement Program. Resolution 213.
Resolution correcting term dates for members of Town of Queensberry Cemetery Commission.
All right, an error was made for the appointments. This is to correct the error. Well, they had them all ending, terming at 2020. We don't want that. Brian Draitline, his term will expire June 30th, 2018. Sarah Gordon, whose term will expire June 30th, 2019. And Donna Partridge, whose term is to expire June 30th, 2020. Resolution 214.
Resolution authorizing hiring of Brian Perry as full-time laborer for Town Wastewater Department.
Okay, there's a vacancy for a laborer in the wastewater department. Rob Warrington retired, Matt Bear moved up. We need a third person. They need 3 people in that department. And this is to fulfill that, and I'll bring this department back up to full strength. Resolution 2015, 215 rather.
Resolution authorizing adoption of amended Town of Queensberry Workplace Violence Prevention Program and Workplace Violence Prevention Policy Statement.
All right, we have updated our workplace violence prevention policy statement. It is now in accord with more current standards in the New York State Department of Labor. They've reviewed this. They like it. Now we approve it, hopefully. Resolution 2216.
Resolution authorizing establishment of Laserfish Upgrade Capital Project and Capital Project Fund Number 222 and engagement of general code for upgrade of Laserfish content management system.
All right, the town clerk has asked us if we would be willing to pay for an upgrade to the Laserfish program. It's $85,851. It will do a lot to bring her department up to snuff in terms of doing what it needs to do. For example, one of many things that it will do is you'll be able to go online and do your FOIL requests. But there's many other things that it will enable the town clerk's department to do, things that it needs to have done. We could hire other people, I suppose, but this software program will do it, and she would very much like us to approve that for her department. Resolution 217.
Resolution authorizing hiring of Wayne Eastman as full-time motor equipment operator for Town Highway Department.
All right, we have an opening in our Full-time motor equipment operator. We are one driver short. We let out 22 trucks when we let them out. This appointment of Wayne Eastman will now give us a full crew in the Town Highway Department. Resolution 218.
Resolution to amend 2017 budget.
All right, it's shifting monies from where it wasn't needed to where it's now needed as things shift and so forth. Needs shift. Resolution 219.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth, PC, for provision of legal services specifically pertaining to Supreme Court action, Town of Queensberry versus Timothy Coughtry, Kimberly Mariani, and Joanne Coughtry, index number 64200.
All right, so this is to engage Fitzgerald Morris Baker and Firth. As we know, we have 3 law firms that work for us. And this is, I don't know what to call it, a construction at 32 Brayton Road up on Cleverdale. And they have constructed a building, and there is a tongue of a trailer hanging out. In any event, we call it a violation of our town code, and we are going to pursue action against them. And we have Fitzgerald Morris Baker and Firth at $200 an hour doing that. Resolution 220.
Resolution approving audit of bills, January 23rd, 2018.
All right, so before the bills can get paid, the town board has to approve the bills. This is a warrant with a run date of January 18th and payment date of January 23rd, totaling $658,330.64. And last, Resolution 2.21.
Resolution authorizing promotion of Julian Gamache from heavy equipment operator to working supervisor in cemetery department.
All right, this is to replace Timmy Brunel. Timmy Brunel was an excellent worker, but he had some medical issues and he had to retire. It was in his own best interest. So now we need to replace him. So this is to replace him with a needed worker in the cemetery department, Julian Gamache, and superintendent is present. Should you have any questions on that matter? Superintendent Goddard is present. All right, those are the 21 resolutions before the board tonight. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to any of those resolutions? If there's another town topic you wish to speak to, I'll give you that opportunity at the end of the meeting. But for now, pertaining just to the resolutions before us, please. Yes, sir?
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Salvador. I'd like to speak to resolutions 2.1 and 2.2 together. Firstly, with respect to consolidation of these 2 sewer districts, isn't it a bit early? The one district is hardly at full development stage. Remains to be seen what the uses will be. And there could be a dramatic change in the units. I think it's just too early. I think you should wait until the district is further along in its development so you can tell what the uses will be. With respect to the bonding, is it clear that you can't issue bonds until the project is fully approved? The map plan and report lists the various approvals that have to be issued. As far as I know, the state comptroller has opined on this project, and an environmental quality review has been undertaken. However, Warren County Department of Public Works has not issued a permit for activities in a county highway. The Department of Transportation has to issue a work permit for activities in a New York State highway. The City of Glens Falls has to issue a permit on the reserve capacity approval. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation must approve the construction plans, which I don't think have been completed yet. Is that true?
That's true.
Stormwater discharge general permit, GPO 15002, has to be issued. And New York State Department of Parks and Recreation has to issue a letter of no effect. All of these permits have to have a process, and they could be issued with conditions that may affect the design. So I really believe that the bonding should not move forward until until the project is fully permitted. With respect to the public hearing you plan to hold, I have the write-up on the justification for the consolidation. And I must say that the attachments are not very clear. They have not used the same plans that were in the map plan and report in this consolidation approval. It's hard to tell. You can't really tell.
All right.
And I would.
Are you just about done?
Just as an example of the difference between what we have today and what we could have. You know, the Native Textiles property changed hands here recently. And if that project, and by the way, I assume that upon completion of the construction, that these people in the district will be required to begin to pay amortization on the debt. There will be no exceptions.
The people that benefit are the people that pay.
The people what?
The people that benefit are generally the
the
people in that
benefit.
sewer district.
The benefit in this case is simply the sewer line running by your front door.
Okay.
That's the benefit.
All right, John. Thank you. And the public hearing will be March 5th, and
You're going to adequately
Chris
inform
Harrington
all
will be
these
here at
people.
that meeting. Superintendent Harrington. Okay? Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to any of the resolutions? Yes, sir?
Oh, it's yours. I'll let John yield some of my time. I'd just like to thank the board for appointing the alternates, and the new regular member, Michelle, has been an alternate on the zoning board. She'll do a great job. My name's Harrison Freer, and I'd like to also speak to Resolution 2-11. As the president of the Glens Falls Rotary Club, I should note that while the race is fun and we've enjoyed good weather, and we appreciate you guys letting us use the town roads, we also donate all the proceeds to local charities, and this year the Family Services Association and SUNY Summer Kids Project, I forget exactly what it is, but in the last several years it's been about $10,000 that we've donated to the different local charities, so we appreciate your support for letting us have that race, and hopefully we'll have good weather again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
Travis Whitehead, I'd like to talk about 2.12. Regarding the 4 elements that are to be completed on the CEC, Clean Energy Committee, list of things before we are eligible for a grant. It was just stated when these resolutions were read and explained that the last item is for us to get a Chevy Bull. That is absolutely false. I mean, it's false.
No, the last item is to fulfill our contract is to get an electric vehicle and a charging station.
That is not one of the four elements. The element you're talking about is to get a charging station. That's correct. And they gave us $2,500 for that to be accomplished. And we can check that one off. It means we have no obligation to buy a $3,400 vehicle. And on top of that, I question why a Chevy Bolt as opposed to any other device. And I asked that question today to Julie Butler over at the county purchasing department, and because they recently bought an EV last year, and asked her how they went about that. And I said, did you specify a particular model or brand or anything else? She said, no, we had a bunch of discussions, and then we put out a general, this is what we're looking for. And then we looked at all the bids we got in, and we ended up selecting a Hyundai Sonata, and we purchased it locally from Garvey Auto. I also asked her about this mini bid deal over at OGS, and she said she's been more than disappointed with that and found out that she can get things locally very often at lesser cost than what comes in from the OGS deal. So I would hope that you would also look at that. But the main thing is to not limit it to a Chevy Bolt or anything, and certainly not to misrepresent what you're looking at today as fulfilling the final element of the CEC, which again is absolutely false.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Thank you for your opinion.
it's not an opinion, John.
Thank you.
Catherine is on that committee as well. She knows that it's a charging station. I asked Kathy Bozzoni before I came down here. I said, is there something I missed about this? Have we ever talked about a Chevy Bolt? And she said, no. I mean, I've attended every meeting. You're on there, well, I've attended more meetings than you have. There has never been any discussion of this, and it certainly is not one of the requirements. A charging station is the requirement, and it would be nice if you told us the truth.
No, thank you. Okay, anybody else like to speak to any of the resolutions before us tonight? Seeing none. Are there any town board discussions that wish to take place on any of the resolutions before us tonight?
I think we should table 212.
We have one offer to table 2.1 and 2.2?
No, 2.12.
2.12? Why is that?
Isn't that the Bolt one?
Hmm?
That's the Bolt one, right? Yep.
Yes.
Yes, I think we should table that.
Why?
Well, I think the four were the 2,500, the benchmark, the class for the town codes, and the charging station. Those are the four that you needed to do for the 50 grand,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Okay, and so then the Bolt, I don't think we ever decided in the committee to buy a Bolt. If we get the 50 grand, we'll
Well, the
buy two.
discussion is the water department, and from the research that was done, the Bolt gets 240 miles per charge.
Right,
It's one of the most cost-effective in terms of its durability than any of the electric cars that I'm aware of. And so the water department just would like us to focus on the Bolt because of that.
yeah, wouldn't the energy committee have to kind of go?
I asked Kathy if we should go through the Energy Committee, and she said no.
Okay,
So are you still,
well, if that's true, not if that's true, if that's, if we do not have to go through the energy committee and it's up to this board, then it
Yeah.
becomes up to this board,
and that's what I was told.
okay?
And the other thing too is when I was told and I'm just repeating the phrase that I was told, that the charging station and the electric vehicle is the fourth and final thing that we have to do. Now, I'm just repeating what I was told. If it's this charging station and we don't need the car to meet the criteria, well, that's fine too. So,
I think the car
I'm just
came,
repeating what I was told.
the car came from the fact that we could get the 50,000.
Yeah,
And that's how we would pay for that car.
I know,
Right.
so it's semantics, I guess.
John, this doesn't commit us to actually purchasing the Bolt. This is just putting this
Putting
out
it
so
out to
we
bid, too, and that's a good point, thank you.
Okay, all right.
So it doesn't commit us to
All right,
Right, okay.
all right.
Could when we go out to bid, can we try to find pricing for other electric vehicles?
Yeah, I had one local call me up today and said, can we go on it? And I said, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
because
should we remove?
I know you mentioned the amount of miles per gallon or whatever from the charges, but, based on a cost perspective, maybe there's something that maybe is a little less mileage, but maybe a lot less expensive, so in the sense of financials.
Yeah, well, let's see how the bids come in. If we're not happy, and you can research the vehicle in the meantime. And I did specifically ask Kathy Maloney if it needed to go through committee, and she said no.
Should we change the wording to
Yes.
request electric vehicle versus Chevy
Chevy Bolt.
Bolt?
Well, I think if you do your research, you'll come back around to Chevy Bolt.
Well, that's fine, but we should have the opportunity.
For any electric vehicle?
Yes.
If that's the majority of the board want to do that, I guess we can do that.
I don't think it will hurt.
Is there any
Right.
urgency here? Because I do know this is for the water department, and they're replacing a vehicle.
Well, Catherine, the car, we need to put the charging station in, right?
Yes,
And then that secures our position to go for the 50,000.
yes.
Okay. Mark, is there any problem with changing the wording of 2.12 to suggest that the bid go out for any kind of electric car?
Not at all. You could genericize it. I was sitting here thinking, if you want to go this way, just genericize the language, decide whether you still want 2017 or newer, separate issue, that's the vintage of the vehicle, not what type of vehicle, and then just change the title of the resolution and the first whereas, and the first resolve to simply say, if you're keeping the vintage of the vehicle, say 2017 or newer electric vehicle, just replace Chevrolet Bolt with electric vehicle, in which case presumably you'll perhaps at least get a wider range of bids,
All right.
including presumably a Chevrolet Bolt.
All right, so if we amend Resolution 212 in accord with what Town Council just offered, is that something you'd like to go with, Jennifer?
Sure.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, it's the unanimity of the board to change that resolution in accord with what you just offered, Mark.
Are you keeping in 2017 or newer?
Yes,
Right, so just literally, all you're going to do is change the title of the resolution to replace the words Chevrolet Bolt with the electric vehicle, and the first resolve to replace the words Chevrolet Bolt with electric vehicle, and otherwise the resolution can, and the first whereas as well, and otherwise, in those three changes, otherwise the resolution can proceed as modified.
okay, Rose, you got that?
Get it.
All right. Town board seems to be comfortable with the amended resolution. Any other discussion on any other of the resolutions?
I just had a question on 210. It's probably nothing, but I was just reading, I think it was the third paragraph, where it said grant funds. And it said the grant funds to be dispersed hereunder shall not exceed the amount first set forth in the agreement. Any additional funds required to complete the project will be the sole responsibility recipient. But I think I heard you say this is going out to RFP, so they'll make sure we don't go over.
Yes, and
Okay.
if they do, they have to get the town board to approve that. Right now, we're approving 50,000.
Right,
47.5 from the grant and 2,500 will come from the town. That's all we're approving.
okay. All right.
Okay? Anything else? Are there any resolution that you would like to have pulled out for roll call? Anybody?
No.
No.
All right. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve 2.1 to 2.21 and acknowledging that 2.12 has been amended? Is there a motion to move those forward for approval?
I'll move.
All right, moved by Councilwoman Switzer, seconded by Councilman Medevere. A roll call vote on that, please, Rose.
Councilperson Medevere?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
Switzer?
Yes.
Strout?
Yes. All right, resolutions passed unanimously. Any correspondence?
Yes. I have a letter from June Maxon dated December 22nd regarding the Warren County SPCA. That will be on file in the town clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. All right, privilege of the floor. Anybody like to talk to the town board about any town topic? Yes, sir?
Travis Whitehead. I sent all 5 of you extensive documentation on the subject I'm about to talk about, and that's the payment of the Smart Watt invoice on the first of the year. This conversation dates back to at least last summer, and it was brought up at that time that we had concerns with this. And at that time, we were assured that there would be discussions prior to it being paid. So I was quite surprised to see it paid on the first of this year. I sent a FOIL request in and copied you on it as well. And one of the things I pointed out was that Town Law, Section 118, states that such vouchers shall be accompanied by a statement by the officer whose action gave rise or origin to the claim that he approves the claim and that the service was actually rendered. I don't believe that this service was actually rendered. I'm getting right into it. There is an invoice here from SmartWatt. It says LOI work for Town of Queensbury, $21,000, and little else. It's dated back in September of last year. It was paid on the 1st in that big batch of 1.4 million, 63 pages, and buried in there is $21,000 without, I'm told, any hint that this little creature was in there, which had been questioned. So I will read from the letter of intent, the LOI that's referenced here, and it states that upon receipt from SmartWatt of a draft performance contracting agreement that meets the above criteria, the town shall either A, commence good faith negotiations for, okay, we didn't do that because it turns out none of us liked what the proposal said, and I think we believed well ahead of time that what we were going to get was something we wouldn't like. B, elect not to enter into a performance contracting agreement with SmartWatt and pay SmartWatt the amount of $21,000 within 30 days of receipt of the proposal in order to compensate SmartWatt for the time and expense incurred in developing the program. Or C, which is the one that applies here, if the program does not or cannot meet the requirements detailed in items 1 through 3 above, I'll read them to you, no payment will be due from the town to SmartWatt for any of the work performed under the program, and the town and SmartWatt shall have no further obligations to each other under this LOI. Now, items 1 through 3 that they reference, item 1, within 180 days, SmartWatt will to deliver that report. That did not happen. That was the initial complaint that we were talking about prior to the report showing up, and that we said that that was enough to go ahead and say you're not going to have this obligation. Once we got the report, a couple months later, I found anyhow that there were several far greater problems with that report because now I got a chance to read it, and I'll detail these now. I didn't bring them up at this time because I was told that this is not going to be paid without discussion. Yet it was. With assistance from the town, SmartWatt shall investigate and help the town to acquire financing for the program that meets the following financial requirements. Financing term shall not exceed the period of probable usefulness assigned by the local finance law of the state of New York, and cash flow derived from the value of energy and operation savings shall be at least budget neutral on an annual basis. And 3, SmartWatt will investigate the availability of incentives. It also states here that SmartWatt is not a professional engineering firm, does not hold itself out to the marketplace as such, Therefore, if the applicable law requires that certain work to be provided by SmartWatt hereunder must be performed or supervised by a qualified licensed professional engineer, SmartWatt will contract with a qualified licensed professional engineer in order to provide such work in compliance with the law. This, I have more to go, thank you. But this is an engineering stamp, and I can tell you that there was no stamp on that report. I can also tell you that the engineer, there was a person on there.
Time is up, okay?
No.
Matter of fact, you
No.
exceeded your time.
No. So,
You're being very impolite.
no, I'm not being at all impolite.
Yes, you are being impolite.
Would anybody like to hear any more about this?
But
Travis, your time is up.
the items you just specified, aren't they moot because the town didn't enter into that agreement? All they did was take the report for face value.
Yeah, so there's three choices. Commence good faith negotiations.
Travis, thank
Which
you
they're
very
not.
much.
I'm answering Mr. Ferrone. Is that all right?
And then you're finished?
I don't know, what else it might lead to.
Well, I
I
think,
can't predict the future, John. So, commence good faith negotiations or elect not to enter that if they give us so what they're saying basically, if we give you something that says that you will be at least budget neutral, and you turn this down, then we don't feel that's fair and that you should pay for the, the cost, our costs for this. Sounds reasonable.
What's happened?
But what happened was they said, for instance, that you had to comply with local finance law. Local finance law, probable useful life. Probable useful life of lighting, for instance, is 10 years. It's in the law. LFL 11.00, number 13.
Again,
What they-
that's all moot because we didn't do any of that.
But they want their $21,000 if they gave you something that said that it would be.
that was for an IGA. That was not for any other product, that you did have to go out to RFP. Thank you very much for your.
You can't just talk to me and then tell me to leave. You can't.
No, I am telling you to leave, to sit down at least, not to leave.
No.
Please sit down. Mr. Whitehead,
So
please sit down
I am sitting down, and
in a chair that's not in front of us.
would anybody like to hear why? I mean, I'm trying to answer Mr. Frone's
We all
question.
read
I
your-
haven't had a chance to answer his question, and the fact of the matter is, you cannot go ahead.
Thank
It
you,
has to
Mr.
be budget
Whitehead.
neutral, or you
Please
don't pay.
sit
That's
down.
what it says,
Mr.
okay?
Whitehead,
It
please
wasn't budget
sit
neutral
down.
because
Mr.
local
Whitehead,
finance law
please
says you
sit
can only
down.
count these things for 10 years. They were counting these savings for 20 years.
Mr. Whitehead, they did not install the lights in here. Please sit down.
They are saying that their
Mr. Whitehead,
proposed.
we did not go with SmartWatt.
You did not go with them, and you shouldn't have to pay them the $21,000.
We agreed to an IGA. and
So
that
this is what's going to happen, since you
Mr.
refuse to.
Whitehead, we can agree
Excuse
to
me.
disagree, but
Since you
please sit
excuse, we can disagree.
That's right.
And we're not going to talk any more about
You are
it,
given
okay?
4 minutes.
We're not going to talk any more about it,
You've
okay?
exceeded that.
And I've had a lot of difficulty trying to get a hold of other people here to try to talk
Yes,
about
Mr.
it.
Whitehead.
So my only choice
Please
now
sit
is to go.
down.
I am sitting down.
In your chair
So
that you were sitting
my only
in
choice is to take this to the sheriff, and I will be doing that tomorrow.
Thank you.
If there's anybody else, fine, I'm going to get a glass of water. I'll get it over here, get out of your way.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board? Yes, sir.
All too often, when we hear the term clean energy, we think of wind-powered turbines or windmills and sun-powered solar cells. The existence of each of these renewable forms of energy relies on either the wind blowing, if at all, at a velocity sufficient to generate power. You must understand, just because the blades are turning doesn't mean power is being generated. Okay? Or the sun shining, which we all know does not occur at all times. Even so, solar panels are sometimes covered with snow, as they are today. New technologies that decrease the cost of these alternate energy sources, government-sponsored tax incentives, and green pricing programs by the utility companies are factors accelerating the growth of these alternate energy sources because they simply don't pay for themselves. An energy source which is more reliable than wind or solar and cleaner burning than clean coal or desulfurized oil is natural gas. Even without tapping the natural gas resources known to exist here in New York State, natural gas producers have been unable to build and operate natural gas pipelines that are sorely needed to satisfy the energy demands of not only New York State, but including northeastern states as well. 3 pipeline projects, the 120-mile Constitution Interstate Pipeline, the 97-mile, 24-inch diameter interstate transmission pipeline designed to transport natural gas extracted in Pennsylvania and areas in New York to areas within the state of New York, the Northeast and Midwest regions of the United States and Canada, and the 7.9 mile, 16-inch diameter Millennium Pipeline, which is designed to connect to a 650 megawatt gas-fired energy plant, have all been denied water quality standard permits by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for failure to demonstrate compliance with the Clean Water Act. As these projects wallow around in the federal court system, the cost of natural gas will continue to unnecessarily rise, affecting all of us. Northeast is highly dependent on this source of energy, and we're going nowhere because it's our state policy to keep their foot on the hose with respect to the use of natural gas.
And how's that tying with the town?
Excuse me?
How's that tying with the town?
You're converting to natural gas.
Yes.
You don't think that's going to cost you more in the future? You think you're going to save a lot of money. That's how it ties into the town.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say to the town board? All right, seeing none. Town board discussions. Jennifer?
Sure, I only have 2 short things. The first is a large part of our town and our economy is made up of small businesses, and anyone interested in going through a small business class at SUNY Adirondack that's sponsored by Washington County LDC, Warren County LDC, and SUNY Adirondack. That starts on February 27th. You should contact the Office of Continuing Education on their website. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up is that it's tax time for a lot of us, and the United Way has a voluntary income tax assistance program. The rules and regulations and the income levels as to who qualifies for that is on the United Way website. Anyone who needs assistance should look up that information on their website. And that's all I have.
All right, well, thank you.
George, anything?
I'm going to do a mini John Stroh report.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to
So
mention.
it's only 15 minutes long?
No. No, I attended the Capital Region presentation of the State of the State at Crandall Library, which you did as well. That was very, very good. We had a meeting here with StoreTech, with Catherine. We're talking about the cloud solution, so that's very interesting. We had a town workshop where we met all the department heads, and that was very interesting. And I had the pleasure of going to meetings down in Albany for Association of Towns with Jennifer and with Catherine. And that was very interesting in terms of the amount of information that they shared with us. And I know they were just scratching the surface, but gave us all a lot to think about as we head into these new positions.
Yeah. And you guys are doing your homework, and you've offered to help, and I have to thank everybody here for doing that. It's very nice, very refreshing. Anything else, George?
That's it.
Thank you. Catherine?
I guess I'll do a mini jump.
Mine's not many.
Oh, okay. It's been a busy few weeks. The Association of Towns training was excellent, and lots of information. And I was also very grateful to attend the Martin Luther King celebration last Sunday. It's always great to go to that. It's always very inspiring. Met at the City Hall in Glens Falls and walked to the church, and then had a nice, and the music was great from all the local schools. It was very uplifting. And then also the Women's March this past weekend was another inspiring event. And that's the second year Glens Falls has had it. It sounds like there were 2,000 this year as opposed to the 1,500 last year. And of course it was all around the world. There were something like 250 all around the world, thousands and thousands of people attending that. That's it.
Nice picture of the postcard, too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I didn't go to the march, so I'm sorry, but I didn't go.
Next year.
Next year, maybe. But yeah, it's a nice picture in the paper. That's two for you. Beyond that, I really have nothing. Just, the first 2-3 weeks, it seems, of January has been great working with all of you. It's been, so far, very rewarding for me, so welcome you all publicly. And special thanks to our highway department, who has had a really rough go of a very tough winter.
Yeah.
So our accolades to them. I know that they're working around the clock, and unfortunately I haven't been able to miss work one day because of them not doing their job. So great job to them, and keep it up, because it's still only January. So.
Yeah.
And February looks to be nasty at this point, as far as the long range goes. So we'll see.
Well, even West Mountain is closed tonight.
Yep. So it was kind of actually treacherous getting here tonight. I was surprised. Didn't
Yes.
expect that. So.
And please, everybody,
icy.
driving home,
Very, very icy.
be careful.
But our highway department, the county, and the state, they've done a very commendable job this year. So,
Yes, thank you.
I don't know which of you is responsible for the weather, but you're failing me miserably. So better get on your A game real soon. So that's it.
All right, thank you, Tony. All right, well, I've been busy. I've got something I'm working on. It's called The Real Story. The town of Queensbury decides not to go with Smart Watt Energy Performance contract. We'll pursue energy efficiency routes that produce even greater cost savings. I'll share that with you in a moment. I've also worked out, and with the help of this board and so forth, the RFP for dog control services for Queensbury. I have drafted a shared services agreement that would be between Warren County and its municipality, and between Warren County municipalities. We don't have a shared service agreement. This is something that we could have, that, instead of buying a piece of equipment that you might only need for a day or two, you could borrow it from a town that has it. Well, you can't do that unless you have a shared services agreement. So, I put together something, and I've shared it with the county. Also, the Rush Pond Trail. ATVs are not allowed on the Rush Pond Trail. The Park and Rec Department wanted me to speak to the public and remind those people that live nearby and have ATVs, that when you use the ATV on the trails, it ruins it for cross-country skiers, especially when you use it and then it freezes up. There's no bringing it back. So again, just a reminder, no ATVs on the Rush Pond Trail system. The Ben Osborne event is coming up. The Ben Osborne Memorial Fund is used for a lot of great things. The book stations and so forth, especially events and opportunities for our youth. Ben's personal hygiene kits, elementary school initiative. It goes on and on and on and on. So the Osbornes are doing very good deeds in name of their son. And I want to remind you, the 8th annual Baskets for Ben is going to be Friday, May 11th, 2018 at 5 p.m. And I think it's going to be at the Queensbury, but I'll give you an update on that. They're interested in getting sponsors for that. All right, my supervisor's report to board and community. January 3rd, Wednesday, I attended Governor Cuomo's State of the State speech. On Thursday, January 4th, Warren County had its organizational meeting. Then we had an arbitration hearing here, and I had to testify at that. And Barb Edmonds, we had a retirement party. Barb Edmonds worked in the accounting office. She was a great person and a great asset to the town. And I want to thank Barb for everything that she's done for the town, and good luck in her retirement. January 5th, Friday, interview with WCKM's Jim Scott, and then my son graduated from SUNY Adirondack's nursing program. I'm proud of him for doing that. If you think the nursing program is easy at SUNY Adirondack, you are wrong. It is a very difficult program, as it should be, and it's a very good program. I'm very proud of the SUNY Adirondack's nursing program. I'm very glad that my son graduated from that. Monday, January 8th, I went to a Capital Region presentation of the Governor's State of the State, and then I had a meeting with the town clerks on dog impoundment practices. We had a town board workshop that night. YMCA's Brian Baer thanked the town for its help with the children's camp, and we interviewed applicants for openings in the planning board and the ZBA. We have not decided candidates for planning board at this time. We did for the ZBA. January 9th, Tuesday, Chapman Education Committee meeting. Chapman's doing a lot of good things coming up. Pay attention. January 10th, Wednesday, at a forum conference on the CDBG grant that we talked about tonight. And I had a meeting with the LGA on road brine and various mixtures and success with those mixtures. January 11th, I'm here doing administrative work. January 5th, Friday, a conference call with New York State's Frank Bonafide, talking about opportunities with repaving Route 9L. He's going to be coming in, so I'm going to have more for that on you coming up. January 13th, Saturday, I went to the Queensbury Central Volunteer Fire Company's annual meeting and banquet, so did many members of the town board. Sunday, I also did the walk for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday, I met with Dome's Doug Miller to talk about some sports tournament opportunities there. January 16th, Tuesday, I worked on the RFPs I just told you about, and I finished a countywide shared services agreement and worked with Chuck Rice to outline the HVAC proposal in the town office building. January 17th, Wednesday, Lake George Chamber of Commerce's CBB met with Kristen Hannafin. She's doing some great things for the area and trying to bring in big events. So she's a very skilled person. She's the right person for that job. Went to a Warren County Finance Committee meeting. Did some training for e-waste. The county went out to bid for who collects our e-waste. We have a new outfit. They have a new way of doing things. It's not very popular with the people of the transfer stations in the county. Hopefully we can work out something. And then I went and gave a speech at the Glens Falls Kiwanis luncheon. And then I went up to discuss what's happening with the hemlock woolly aldehydes and what we need to do. There's chemical and biological controls for the aldehyde. They are up here. We saw evidence of them on the side of Prospect Mountain. They've devastated hemlock trees elsewhere south of here. We're hoping that the hemlock trees, which are very fundamental in the ecology of lakeside environments, are preserved, so we're going to see what we can do with that. And then I had a Warren County Safe and Quality Bicycle annual meeting and banquet. And then we had January 18th, Thursday, we had another town board workshop where we got Clean Energy Communities update from Kathy Bononi. And And town is getting the last task accomplished, and what I have in my notes is the EV and the charging station at the water department. I've been come to understand that we only need the charging station. Well, that's good. And then a formal CEC recognition, and hopefully $50,000 will be coming our way so we can spend it on other good things. Tasks we have completed are unified solar permit, energy code enforcement training, and benchmarking. We then all met with some of the town's department managers to discuss personnel issues. On January 19th, Friday, I went to the Warren County Board of Supervisors meeting and an Adirondack Archaeology meeting. On January 20th, Saturday, skiing was great. And then I went to the West Glens Falls Volunteer Fire Company's annual meeting and banquet. I mean, West Mountain's doing a great job grooming that mountain. It's great skiing there. January 21st, Sunday, I was in yesterday doing administrative work and working on the RFPs and working on the real story. And January 22nd on Monday, Economic Growth and Development meeting and this town board meeting. So, also, Tom Ford, I've sent him a letter, and I want to read it to the public because he's a great guy and he's contributed a lot of time and excellent service, outstanding service. The town of Queensbury wishes to commend you for your many years of outstanding service that you have given to the community. As a past member of the town's Zoning Board of Appeals, and in the more recent years, serving on the Planning Board, you have provided exceptionally good judgment, and you have contributed to the town's success and well-being. As a result, you have greatly benefited the local community. Your contributions are deeply appreciated. Thank you ever so much for your service. And that's a thank you from the town. All right, well, let's take a look at 2015 and 2016 and the real story. The town of Queensbury decides not to go with SmartWire. We did not go with an energy performance contract. We did not go with SmartWire. Okay, what we are going to do is pursue energy efficiency routes that produce even greater cost savings for the taxpayers of Queensbury. So if you take a look, this has been a long travel. A lot of T's crossed, a lot of I's dotted. Started back in 2015. I was contacted by Greg Royer, who's an account executive for SmartWatt Energy. He asked if the town might be interested in implementing a variety of energy-saving initiatives. We replied that we were interested. So the town asked Environmental Capital to assess SmartWatt's preliminary proposal. All right? I wanted to be very careful. I wanted to make sure all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted. You know, being very cautious and being very careful is a good thing, especially when getting into these energy performance contracts. So Environmental Capital, which I can share with you in a little bit, I asked them to review it, and they did. So on April 15th of 2015, the town received an assessment report from Environmental Capital. They had D&B engineers and architects as a sub-consultant also review it. The report proved very helpful and noted, among other things, that other municipal officials with experience with EPCs pointed to energy performance contracts and energy performance contract claims to savings as an area where there is potential for significant misunderstanding and disagreement. All right, so a cautionary note came from that review that we asked for. Now, this report's findings and what was claimed to have happened with Warren County Siemens EPCs made us here in town want to approach this energy performance proposal with extreme caution. It was clear to us that due diligence was needed here. We certainly wanted energy savings and maintenance savings, but needed to assure our taxpayers that we're getting the best bang for the buck. Also, as noted in the Environmental Capital report, SmartWatt's estimates of savings would have to be confirmed in a more rigorous analysis as part of a final feasibility assessment or comprehensive energy audit needed to be done. That was the recommendation in that report, one of them. So we agreed to contract with SmartWatt so they could provide us with that more rigorous feasibility assessment they called an investment grade audit. It was part of this argument, this agreement, that if we, the town, did not proceed to agree to an energy performance contract with SmartWatt, which we didn't, we decided not to go with an energy performance contract, and we agreed that if we didn't, we would pay SmartWatt $21,000 for the investment grade audit product. And the town would be able to, as it has, use that information in the investment grade audit to conduct further energy assessments. On September 12, 2016, the town board unanimously authorized SmartWatt to proceed with the investment grade audit. Moving on to 2017. In the meantime, we consulted with our town attorney, representatives from National Grid, representatives from NYSERDA, other town supervisors who had performed their own energy savings projects. And so we decided, after recognizing the value of the energy savings projects described in SmartWatt's IGA, that we should do those SmartWatt identified described projects on our own. And that this go-it-alone route was the best route for the town to get the best bang for the taxpayer's buck. Therefore, we never did enter into an energy performance contract with SmartWatt. So we paid the $21,000 as we agreed to. Note, if we were inclined to do an EPC, an energy performance contract, we would have done so through an RFP process. SmartWatt could have made a formal proposal in competition with others, as it should be. Now, as a result of what we've learned from SmartWatt's IGA, Environmental Capital's report, discussions with NYSERDA, National Grid, and many others, that the best route is to go ahead with the following energy and cost savings projects. Change the interior and exterior lighting to LED in our town office and our activity center buildings. Change town-owned street lighting to LED. Investigate cost benefit of obtaining town ownership of National Grid-owned street lighting, and, if purchased, install energy and maintenance savings LED lights. Install a modern, more efficient, better balanced HVAC system in the town office building. Remove fuel oil tanks and install a natural gas line to serve the town office building HVAC system. Okay, move on to 2018, this year. Because the IGA came in beyond the 180-day time frame, some town board members took the position that we should not pay for the SmartWatt IGA, the investment grade audit. However, given the fact that we were obligated, because we did not proceed with an energy performance contract with SmartWatt, we should pay the $21,000 for the IGA. Also, it was the town that was, in part, responsible for the delays and keeping SmartWatt from completing their IGA within 180 days. Add to this the obligation that town council's review basically stated that the letter of intent, or the LOI, did not have clear timeframes. The town board majority decided to pay as we agreed to. As mentioned above, the town has found SmartWatt's IGA to be very useful. All right, we have completed the changing of our interior lighting to LED in the town office and the activity center, or we're almost close to completing it. Rise Engineering submitted the best proposal and was awarded the job. Now, for the town office building HVAC design and natural gas conversion, we have begun to draw up an outline of task description so that it can go out for RFPs. The proposals will include costs for the development of construction documents so that we can go out to bid. All right, I just received comprehensive streetlight inventory as reviewed by Cost Control Associates. This report will show the following in regards to our streetlights: ownership, numbers, wattages, and types. Using this knowledge, we will begin to install LED lighting on town-owned streetlights, beginning with the decorative types along Main Street and Route 9. Now, we have discussed town-owned street lighting with Scott Schwartz, and he has allowed us to sample 2 types of LED lighting on a couple of lamp posts on Route 9 and on Main Street. The town board, when you get a chance, don't do it tonight, is to inspect those and find out which LED lights are most effective. Now, if we find an LED bulb that we like, we'll then bid for prices for those bulbs. If the LED bulbs can be easily installed, we'll have our crews install them. If they're not, we'll bid out the job. As National Grid owns streetlights, we need to see how other municipal efforts in this area progress. Currently, we've been told by knowledgeable sources that buying streetlights from National Grid is not an easy process, and they're requesting costs for the light fixtures they found excessive and not standardized. All right, so let's wait till practice at Public Service Commission. Get someplace where we feel comfortable with the fairness and standardization of being able to buy National Grid streetlights. Then we'll investigate doing that, and we'll do a cost-benefit analysis. Will it benefit the taxpayers by doing that? All right. So, you know, I'm putting together a chronological overview of this whole project, our discussions with NYSERDA, DEC, town attorneys. And I have appendixes with documents, so I'm putting this together. Over what, 3 years now, we have been very careful to make sure that what we do in terms of trying to save the taxpayer money has been done legally and correctly. Thank you. All right, that's it for me. Anything else for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn?
I so motion.
Councilwoman Atherton, motions to adjourn. A second?
Second.
All right, keep it on the same side. Councilman Medabere seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you, public.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.